Are you kidding me? It is the article? It's the article? Oh my god. Hey audio everyone, Velocity here, back into action for more Objection Attraction. I feel dumb. It's just... That was stupid. Why was it like this? I don't understand, but fine, whatever. That being said, sorry, Mr. Drebber, but I don't believe that. Don't believe what? Your latest claim. You did see the professor on the night 10 years ago. Oh dear. You seem to be at odds. But I was there, and you were not. I know what I didn't see. The illustration of this article was drawn based upon what you told a journalist that you witnessed? A figure emerging from the tomb, wearing an iron mask? Yes, when the killer was tried 10 years ago, it was decided to be the close quarters ruling that the man would wear the mask to hide his identity. It wasn't to be removed even during his execution and subsequent burial. Not even the prison wards were to see the man's face. But obviously, the provision of this mask was not public knowledge. So, Mr. Drebber, as you've just heard, a lowly student at the University of London certainly wouldn't have known about the condemned man's mask. So unless you're actually seeing the professor that night, it's inconceivable that the artist would have included the mask in that illustration. Order, order! Well, Mr. Drebber? It's a vile scene, isn't it? If you look closely. And as I've already been at pains to point out, I was utterly petrified. Which is why I had in my head that I'd seen such a blood-curdling sight. But afterwards, I came to my senses and realized that I'd been mistaken. You're still saying you didn't see it? If you're stubbornly sticking to that story, witness, then amend your testimony to explain exactly how you think your eyes deceived you. Of course. Only too happy to oblige. Can't believe he's still not going to concede the point. What I in fact witnessed was a fellow grave robber at work.
Hold it!
A fellow grave robber? What are you talking about? Well, I wasn't the only one busy at the cemetery that night, you know. Other body snatchers were at work. Of course, when I saw one emerging from the hole he dug, my heart very nearly stopped. So that's the terrifying sight I actually saw, you see. You're claiming it was just another student on equally inscrupulous business as yourself. Many of the medical students would wear masks to protect them from bacteria during dissections. Surely the fellow was using such a mask to protect his anatomy, wouldn't you say?
Objection!
But there's more to the story, isn't there? The article goes on to say, in the next scene, a gunshot rang out suddenly from behind. The bullet pierced the resurrection man's chest, whose breath had stilled once more. We might assume the sexton discovered the miscreants at work, perhaps, and fired upon one of them. The gravedigger had shot someone in the cemetery. I think it might have been rather big news, my lord. Oh, yes, well, I can only assume it was an embellishment bolted on later by a reporter. Oh?
Excuse me.
Madam do spells! Don't take it out on Mr. Sloanes. Guy deserves it. Oh la la. Pardon. I was lost in my thoughts. Would it be fair to say Mr. Drebber's last remark was significant to you in some way? I thought it was a little strange. That is all. How Monsieur Drebber could claim this now. If you don't mind me saying, madame, what are you talking about? Well, when I met you 10 years ago at your university dormitory, you recounted to me about your adventures in the cemetery, huh? Including the gunshot? Stop! You might want to watch your tongue, you know!
Objection!
Have a care, Drebber. There's no way to speak to a lady. Please, Madame do spells. Carry on. Of course. According to what Monsieur Drebber told me at the time, he did hear a gunshot from behind him, and the bullet hit the condemned man. I said nothing of the sort! No, you were very explicit about the details. About the mask that the figure was wearing. And the blood that splattered over you when he was shot. Enough! Shut up, woman! You're making all this up! That will do! Mr. Drebber! Yes. You refute the account that just given by Madame do spells. I have no recollection of ever saying those things. Come on! Do you really expect us to believe you? Control yourself, Consul. I will not permit baseless accusations in my courtroom. Right. Under the circumstances, I think it best you supplement your testimony with a statement to clarify your position on this witness. Very well. There was no gunshot from behind me at all. Not any splattering blood. There is, though. There is, in fact, my dude. The blood is splattering.
Objection!
Mr. Drebber, do you remember this camera? But that is the camera from the Faithful Dent. Yes, we borrowed it from the House of Horrors. It's the camera you took with you in the cemetery that night, Mr. Drebber. And is that supposed to be significant? This kind of camera is rarely seen in our homeland, so my colleague and I were keen to examine it closely. We noticed that the lens extends forward at the end of the sun bellows. Like this.
Hold it!
Oh, what's that? There, just on the bellows. It looks like a dark red stain. That's right. It's a rather conspicuous mark here, on the bellows in fact. Good lord, are you suggesting? Yes, my lord. It would appear to be a splatter of blood. So then that could be confirmed with a simple alchemical test. Isn't that right, Dr. Seath? It would be difficult to determine if it was human blood and not the blood of some animal. But yes, to test whether or not it's blood at all is simple enough. I propose that Madame do Spell's testimony was correct, and that the night in question 10 years ago, you were splattered with blood from the gunshot wound. Well, and that furthermore, you really did witness the condemned professor emerging from his tomb. There's simply no way you could have forgotten such a traumatic experience. In other words, the only explanation is that you're trying to hide the fact that you saw the professor that night.
Objection!
But why? Why would he want to do that? Well, not for his own gain, it would seem. Or whose then? Who could benefit? Mr. Drebber is obviously lying in order to protect somebody. My goodness, he's shielding someone? Yes, my lord. And clearly, it's someone who doesn't want the truth about the professor coming back to life to be exposed. Well, Consul, who is it then? Who is the witness trying to protect by lying about what he saw that night? Oh.
Take that!
They're colluding, right? The obvious answer is Dr. Seath. Seath. Whatever do you mean? Imagine if the convict who'd been sentenced to death was not in fact killed. Imagine if that was to come to light. What are you insinuating? Imagine the convict in question was the country's most hated mass murderer. If it was the professor. That would be an unprecedented scandal.
Objection!
This is beyond a joke. Need I point out that the dead cannot come back to life? What you're suggesting would mean that the execution never actually happened. Yes, that's exactly what I would mean.
Objection!
Once a man is sent to the gallows, he hangs. No one could escape. Not in Great Britain.
Objection!
But the fact is, there was a witness in the fact that the man did escape his hanging. That were really true, Consul. The implications of misconduct would not stop at the supervising coroner. Would detain the honor of the entire judiciary from the ground up. It is exactly because of this monumental repercussions that Dr. Seath would consent to any demand made of her by someone who threatened to expose the secret, even if that meant being complacent in the crime. You mean... I mean that Dr. Seath wasn't collaborating in Mr. Drebber's wicked scheme. She was coerced into collaborating in order to protect her decade-old secret. She switched the dead body of Mr. Asman with the waxwork model and fabricated the autopsy report. Ah! He's so posed, dude. Look at him. He's furious. Lord Van Zeeks? Pray forgive my freshly filled hollow chalice, and a whole wrath of other discourtesies now. Goodness me! It's just the sort of tall tale Londoners would enjoy. I grant you. An executed killer rising from the dead, a Scotland Yard cover-up, a conspiracy at the highest levels. Let me ask you one thing. What's that? If a condemned man really did emerge from his tomb that night, only to be shot in the chest, who pulled the trigger? And disposed of him forever? Well, I have no idea at the moment. We have too little information to work that out at present, I think. I couldn't agree more. The Old Bailey is no place for wild fantasies. And have you considered this, my learned Nipponese friend? Considered what? Do you realize just what a dangerous endeavor it would be to rehearse this woman into such a criminal activity? It's tantamount to declaring war on the entire British and police force and judiciary. What? Not to imagine any sum of money being offered for research could warrant it. To rely on some stage deception when so much is at stake would be madness. Well, I suppose. And this was no petty crime either. The victim was murdered. A man who'd already invested money in the venture and would be instrumental in future profits too. Yes, I had no reason to kill Mr. Osman at all. Or are you forgetting that his death results in me receiving not a single penny? The court is already aware of the contract between myself and the victim. No? There is the contract. That's very true. The motive for this case runs deep, though. I can feel it. Using threats to force the head of the forensics investigation team to cooperate is extreme, especially for a government grant he had no guarantee of receiving in the first place. The research grant was the aim. Taking Mr. Osman's life would have made no sense anyway. Which means Mr. Drebber's motive wasn't money at all. He was just trying to kill Mr. Osman. Why? What was his motive then? Your time is up, my learned friend. I say you have one last chance before the jury lose their patience with this charade. Let's see if you could back up your heady proposal, shall we? How do you explain why this engineer would throw all caution to the wind and threaten his own country? At this point, I'm not prepared to listen to more of this outlandish conjecture without proof. So, counsel, present your evidence. Alright. Who exactly was Mr. Osman to Drebber? There's a connection there that no one's seen yet. I'm going to have to present 2 pieces of evidence to show what it is. Yes, my lord. The evidence that establishes the motive explains why the witness wanted the victim dead is right here. It would be this. The reason why it would be this is because he made the article. Yeah.
Take that!
It's this newspaper article, my lord. That was written 10 years ago, and every detail has been examined already. How could it possibly... What could it possibly tell us? That trivial would never have been written! It's typical gutted press nonsense that means nothing! Yes, on its own, it isn't particularly significant. However, consider it alongside another piece of evidence. It will completely explain your motive for wanting Mr. Osman dead. What other evidence? Counsel, you will present your supplementary evidence without delay. The evidence which, when cross-referenced with the newspaper article, establishes a motive for the deed. The only thing I can think of is this. Because it is that the very prestigious award for a young scientist, and having this hokum here from Mr. Osman would be the case. I'm just not sure if that's what they're leaning towards, and it's not like the mask thing, because it could be the mask thing, honestly. But I don't think we've established yet just Mr. Osman being that case. So,
Take that!
I think it's fair to say that after your presentation of evidence, counsel, we have only half the story. That's right, my lord. This is why I just presented another piece of evidence to complete it. Clearly, my learned friend only had half an education, and I wasn't included in the syllabus. Let me put this in words. No! I thought it was. I thought it was. Oh. I had it. I had it. I had it. I bocce balled this. Because, like, the evidence is there that, like, effectively, the man was getting revenge.
Guilty.
That is the whole point of this. It is a revenge-based motive. But, I just...
Guilty.
It's hard to establish the fact that he ruined the life of things. So the only other thing I could think of then would be the mask. And unfortunately, kind of flubbled on that because I was trying to establish that his life was ruined first and foremost because we don't have anything for the mask in particular. That is my current problem. And just like, that's why I went the way that I did. I just, ooh. Dang. We're very close though. Like, we were getting it. We're getting it for sure. We're try from this scene. Yes. I have it. Like, I know what I'm doing. I just flubbed.
A few minutes later.
I presented it. I presented the royal thing. I presented these two. Drebber's contact? That doesn't make sense to me.
Take that.
How is it the contract? What? How? I don't understand. It's not money related, it's revenge related. It's this contract, my lord. Mr. Drebber, this is the contract you signed with Mr. Osman. Yes, that's right. The very document, in fact. That proves I have no reason to kill the man. No, I'm afraid not. What? There's something very significant that this newspaper article and the contract have in common. Really? And it's the common link. Cause it shows the fucking, oh, that's what it is. It shows the signature. Oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, that's these small little things that I always get fucking hanged up on. I swear. Every time, fam. It shows very clearly why you were determined to kill Mr. Odie Osman. Seems the defense has uncovered something the rest of us have missed. So, my learned friend, point out what these two pieces of evidence have in common. It's right. It's literally right here.
Take that.
What these two pieces of evidence have in common is a signature. A signature? The signature of the illustration that accompanies the 10-year-old article and the signature on the contract belongs to the same person. What? Ugh! As the court has heard, this illustration was drawn 10 years ago by the newspaper reporter who found Mr. Drebber and interviewed him about his ordeal. If you look closely, the reporter's signature can be seen at the bottom right corner of the drawing. And if you look at the contract here, which was signed between the witness and the victim last year, you can clearly see Mr. Osman's signature at the bottom. Let me see now. Good lord, yes! They're identical! In short, the journalist who drew the illustration and wrote the article published about Mr. Drebber 10 years ago was the victim of this case, Mr. Odie Osman.
Objection.
But explain to the court why. Why would that constitute a motive for the witness to murder Osman? Well, if you think about it, you'll remember that Mr. Drebber talked about the article in his testimony. Grave robbing, you say? Yes, humming fresh corpses to sell is reasonable reasonably lucrative. That is quite beyond the pale. You would invite divine retribution, sir. Yes, well, I think I suffered retribution enough. The Daily Circus eventually unearthed my name and put it in print. I caused me a great many headaches. In the end, I had to leave the university. That was the only paper with the bad graces to identify me unambiguously, I might add. Then I gave up on my dream of becoming a scientist. It was all because of that newspaper article. At the time, you were a student at the University of London who dreamed of becoming a scientist. However, this single newspaper article changed your entire life. So Mr. Osmond used to be a newspaper journalist, did he? He did, my lord. In fact, he's a widely held belief that Osmond managed to position himself at the heart of his criminal network, thanks to the many dubious connections he made during his time as a reporter. You had to give up on your dream and leave university. You lost everything. Eventually, you found yourself working in the field of science, but only in the shadows. And all because of that article, written by Mr. Osmond. Enough! Stop this endlessly drivel about my life. What? Explain yourself, Mr. Drebber. Yes, it's true. I had to leave the university as a result of the article. But it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. What do you mean? Almost every student of science in the facility was too poor to actually conduct any research. But they struggled on with their hypotheses anyway. We all did, only to have them taken by vultures. Sooner or later, you knew your ideas would be stolen and patented by some wretch or another, after all. Good gracious! Making a name for yourself as a scientist in the climate like that was a miracle only a select few geniuses could ever hope to achieve. Personally, I wasn't one of those geniuses. It was hardly a wretch. Being forced out of the university because of Lowgate was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Objection!
Mr. Drebber, do you generally believe that? Of course I do! Who's better placed to know whether or not I possess the talent for science than me? I'm sorry to say that your words don't ring true at all. How dare you! I have evidence to prove it. How are you in a position to say anything about me? I don't know you from Adam. Fine. You think you have evidence? Go ahead, show it. What could I possibly have disproved the idea that I was happy to leave the university because I lacked talent? Obviously this. I've been trying to present it like all week. Do you remember this, Mr. Drebber? We found it at your workshop. Is that a Royal Society trophy for excellence in science? What exactly is that trophy, Counsel? The greatest honor that can be bestowed on a young scientist, my lord. There's no higher acolyte. It recognizes emerging a talent and promises a bright future. Good gracious! Your prospects for the future were excellent, weren't they, Mr. Drebber? Because even then, you were a genius in your field. Ugh. But you lost everything. You had no more future. Your talents would go to waste. All as a result of this one newspaper article. I don't know what you realized too, Mr. Osmond was. when it dawned on you that he was the same journalist who 10 years ago ruined your life. It's abundantly clear that you had no intention of forgiving that man. The truth is... Finally, he's going to fold. Hold it! Oh? Fine. Clearly this has run its course now. What? I admit it. All of it. What? What are you doing? Exactly as the Japanese man said. I was coerced into going along with this man's plot to murder the victim. On the condition that he kept my dirty secret from 10 years ago. No. Good Lord! Dr. Seath, do you realize what you're saying, woman? It's all true. That day, when I arrived at the Crystal Tower and saw the birdcage, my heart nearly stopped beating. That memory from a decade ago that I'd done my best to bury deep inside myself. It was the professor again, staring me in the face. And then, before I had a chance to react, I noticed something else. There was a note tucked inside the model's jacket. Dr. Seath, you will go along with my plan. From someone who knows the truth about what really happened that night, 10 years ago. All the instructions were in that note. Every detail was meticulously written out. I had no choice but to do what it said. I made the necessary alterations to the scene, and fabricated the autopsy report as instructed. There was really no other choice. It had to be done to protect the judiciary. I can only apologize now. Why on earth would you buckle now? Well, there's no point trying to hide it anymore, is there? I would have done anything to stop it coming out, even collaborate in murder. But the great lie about that execution 10 years ago was been exposed. Whatever happens, I'm finished. So then, Mr. Drebber, what do you say to that? Your accomplice has admitted everything. Surely it goes without saying. You admit your part in it too, right, then? I admit nothing! At all! What? What? Why is he so stubborn? Brah! Brah! Oh! Next time, everybody, we'll continue on with this case as it goes on. Oh my goodness. Till then, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you can. Sayonara. Bye-bye.